isa po sa mga presidential aspirant para ho sa susunod na general election sa 2022. Walang iba kundi si former Senator Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Sir BBM, good morning po. Welcome po sa programa.
Magandang umaga sa ating mga magigiting na kongresista at sa lahat ng sumusubaybay sa atin. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat.
MJ, may nakalimutan ka sa pagpapakilala kay Senator Bongbong Marcos. Nowhere in yung Philippine politics, yung electoral campaign, na yung isang kandidato, 6 months to go, hitting 68%, wow. 70%.
Oh my goodness.
Dahil nakita natin yung huli kay Pangulong Erap Estrada pero hindi ganyang kataas. Ngayon lang ako nakita yung ganyang kataas na rating. So the #1 rated and the highest rated presidential candidate, Bongbong Marcos. Morning, sir.
Good morning. And thank you for that. At yes, very siyempre nakakatuwa at nakakataba ng puso na makita na may suporta tayo at nagpapahiwatig ng tiwala sa ating kakayahan. And that is for me the most important thing in this campaign so far.
Yes, sir, kanina si Kong Lucy. Kong Lucy, go ahead. May tatanong ka ni sir.
Yes, I've noticed lang kasi that I wanted to share lang comments that I hear on the ground, no? And then I think no matter what political party you belong to and whoever you started to support at the beginning of the campaign, they've said the same thing about BBM. One of the most admirable traits is that he's always stood squarely on his platform. He never went on a campaign na paninira, and they always say, when the old politicians say that is a sign of a leader who has plans for the country, because if you don't really have concrete plans, then you will pepper your campaign with trying to bring down or trying to tear apart your opponent. So I think it's very admirable, especially at a time when the country is very divided, knowing especially that, like I always say, Kong Mike, Kong Ace, MJ, diba, we all want the same things anyway. So why tear each other down when we should really listen to what the candidates have to offer? So I just wanted to say that it's nice that you're bringing the level of campaigning to a higher level, like Senator Lacson and Senator Tito Soto. Also, I've never heard them tear down their opponents.
Well, thank you for that. Yes, it's something that I really, para sa akin naman, walang naitutulong yan. Dahil talaga ang hinaharap natin, what we are really concerned with is the crisis that we are facing, the pandemic and the economy. And making personal attacks at one another does not help us solve the problems of the pandemic or the economy. And that is what we should only be doing. Dapat sinasabi natin, tayo magiging leader ng bansa, tayo ang mamumuno. Kung tayo magiging leader, tayo magiging bansa, wala tayong ginagawa. Kundi ang ginagawa lang natin, yung mga personal natin, yung mga personal na galit, yung mga personal na alitan, hindi naman nakakatulong yan sa yung isang trabahador na walang trabaho, yung isang sari-sari store na lubog sa utang. That's why in my priorities in my mind, those things do not really have a place. Dahil again, and it's a very important point, Kong Lucy, that you brought up. It's a very important point that ang pagkatapos ng eleksyon, kakailanganin mo din yung mga yan eh. Kasi meron din dyan, kahit na hindi mo kasama sa politika, marurunong yan eh. Meron silang maitutulong. So ba't mo aawayin? Kasi at some point, sasabihin, pare, tumulong ka naman muna dito, kailangan kita. Hindi naman kita binibira, hindi naman tayo nag-aaway, di ba? Politika lang yan, isang tabi na muna natin yan. But we need the whole country to come together. Hindi natin kakayanin, one party will do this, it will only be the administration will do this. It's only the public sector who will do this. Hindi. We need everyone. We need every single Filipino. We need every single sector of society to help first, take us out of this pandemic, and then to recover our economy and recognize kung ano ang naging bagong global economy sa mundo. At tiyakin natin na tayo ay magandang positioning natin para kasama tayo doon sa pag-ahon ng global economy na ngayon nararamdaman na nga natin. So these are the things that we should be concerned about, not these personal attacks that really do not help anyone. Maybe it helps the people who are making the attacks, but it does not help the ordinary Filipino citizen. And again, that's the only person that we should be concerned about is the ordinary Filipino citizen.
Sir, kung Mike, kung Ace, kung Lucy, papasukin muna natin live si Kong Ace Barbers para continuous na po yung ating talakayan. Kong Ace, good morning. Welcome po. Naka-mute.
Baka na-mute.
Ako, naka-mute. I can see his, it's naka-mute.
Kung Ace, naka-mute yung ano mo, yung audio mo.
Yan. Good morning,
Yes.
Kong Mike, Kong Lucy, and of course our presidential aspirant, former Senator Bongbong Marcos, and MJ. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. At pasensya na kayo, nahuli ako dahil alam niyo naman, dito sa aming probinsya, pag ang signal, pag good morning ko, dadating sa inyo, good evening na eh. Isa yan sa dapat nating ayusin when we speak of global economy. Alam mo, malaking tulong ngayon, and this is now the digital age, ika nga, and we should really invest on this. And hopefully, if our presidential aspirant makes it in this coming May 2022, one of his top priorities would be probably including investing in this digital technology.
Absolutely. Good morning, Kong Ace. Absolutely. Kailangan yan. We have seen what has happened. Actually, it was already happening before COVID. Pero nung dumating ang COVID, it became parang na-accelerate ang process where we become more and more dependent on our digital infrastructure on the internet. Because although we were already moving in that direction, commerce was already moving towards internet. Pagdating ng COVID, even the other sectors like education na hindi naman nating inaasahan ilalagay sa internet, napunta na sa internet. Pati yung working habits ng mga tao, the work from home. I think one of the main reactions that I've noticed with people, they were forced to work from home. And after months of working from home, parang ang pakiramdam niya, pwede naman pala. It's really feasible. It's practical to work from home. Of course, once in a while, you have to go to the office kasi may mga kailangan gawin, may mga kailangan ka-meeting. But imbis na pumapasok na araw-araw, maybe once, twice, 3 times a week na lang. Kaya depending again on the internet. Even the consumers, our buying habits, imbis na pumunta sa tindahan. Well, for a while, hindi tayo makapunta sa tindahan. So natuto tayo mag-order online. Hindi lamang yung mga bagay, not just things from Lazada or Shopee or Amazon or any of the other the places where you can order online, but even the way we eat. Kasi sarado restaurant. So magpapahatid lang tayo ng pagkain, and we do that over the internet. And so it's very, very clear that the digital infrastructure has become very important. Now, not only do we have to catch up to the world standards of internet accessibility, speed, and coverage, we have to accelerate it even further. Kasi kulang na kung bumalik lang tayo sa standards ng last year, halimbawa. Because the rest of the world has really improved their digital infrastructure in response to itong nangyari dito sa COVID. And I feel that this is something that we have to do immediately. And I think it is something that we can do immediately. For the simple reason that we do not have to reinvent the technology. Some of when they do the analysis of the internet of countries around the world, and who does best is South Korea. Kapitbahay natin. We can just go to them and ask them, how did you do it? Gayahin natin yan. We don't have to do it ourselves. The technology is available to us. Hiramin natin, bilhin natin, whatever it takes para mapaganda natin ang ating digital infrastructure. So now, when we talk about infrastructure development, hindi na maaring pag-usapan lamang tulay, kalsada, building. Kailangan na rin natin isama dyan yung digital infrastructure. Kailangan na rin natin isama dyan. Another thing is we have power supply and generation and pricing. But these are the post-COVID world has forced us to think in those terms. And that's the only way that we will respond properly, that we can bring our economy back. The only way to respond properly and to position ourselves properly while the global economy is starting to recover is that we are going to have to be in the proper position to do that. And the digital infrastructure is going to be a critical part of that.
Sir?
I agree.
MJ, yeah. Itanong, sir, on the lighter side, no, kami ngayon lahat candidates. Ace, si Lucy, we're all candidates. Tinitira kami, left and right. Kayo, sir, you've been through that for 4 decades. Yung talagang palinira, patuloy na pagsasalita ng masama. Ngayon, sir, ang tanong ko, how do you, sir, define yung healing and unifying presidency? Because you've always been that. Kahit masama yung salita sa inyo, no? Hindi nyo pinapatulan. What would be a healing and unifying presidency under Bongbong Marcos?
Well, yeah, the reason I talked about unification, unifying leadership is simply because I do not see another way out of this without us being unified. Hindi tayo makakaraos nito if not kung mag-aaway-aaway tayo. And you look back on the history of the Philippines, the kasaysayan ng Pilipinas, pagka inabot tayo ng krisis, nagkagera, nagka-Yolanda, nagka-lindol, kahit anumang catastrophe or disaster, hindi tayo nakapag-survive kung hindi tayo nagkaisa. And that has always been the essential part of our survival, of our, and not only survival, but to even flourish in these times of crisis. So it is, but the good thing about it is that hindi natin kailangan ituro sa taong bayan kung paano maging mabait, dahil mabait ang Pilipino. Kung paano magmahal sa kapwa Pilipino, hindi na natin kailangan ituro, nasa puso ng bawat isang Pilipino yan. Kailangan lang natin gisingin at ulitin ang pagkakaisa na ganyan. Dahil kung hindi, mahihirapan talaga tayo makapag-recover. We have to work together. If you remember, in the height of the pandemic, late last year and earlier this year, maliwanag ang pakiramdam ng bawat tao na sinasabi, we cannot do this on our own. That me as an individual cannot survive this crisis, cannot survive this pandemic, cannot survive this economic crisis if nobody helps me. And it cannot be just one sector. Sasabihin, ang gobyerno mag-aayos lahat yan. Hindi kaya ng gobyerno ayusin lahat yan. Private sector mag-aayos lahat yan. Hindi rin. Yung mga mamamayan, silang bahala mag-aayos lahat. Hindi ganun dapat. Dahil ay kailangan sabay-sabay tayo nagtutulungan and achieve that kind of synergy that is necessary for us to succeed and to flourish. And so, it really is important when you talk about unifying. Some people interpret when I talk about a unifying leadership, some people interpret it as everyone joining the same political party or being on the same political side, as on the same side of the political aisle. Well, of course, we need to have some consensus amongst politicians. We need to have some consensus amongst the leadership. But what I'm talking about is not a political unification only. I'm also talking about unification of our efforts of lahat ng ating ginagawa para tumulong sa bayan. Okay, kung hindi tayo magkasundo, sa polisiya, hindi tayo magkasundo, o di okay lang. Pero isang tabi muna natin yan, ayusin muna natin itong problema, saka tayo magdebate. Kahit na ora-orada tayo magdebate, that's fine with me. But we have to take care of the problems first. And I think for me, just when I go back, when you there's a concept that you say we go back. Pagka medyo na-confuse ka na, let's go back to first principles. And to go back to first principles, the first principle is the national interest. Let's continue to remember that kasi nakakalimutan ko minsan yan eh. At lagi na lang natin ipinaglalaban yung partido natin, yung sarili natin, yung kamag-anak natin, whatever, kaibigan natin. So, and that's fine, that's natural. Hindi naman mawawala sa tao yan. But we will not let it get in the way of the national interest. Kahit kaibigan mo, kapag nakikita mo hindi naman tumutulong, hindi naman imbis na makatulong, nasagabal pa doon sa inyong mga ginagawa, siguro we have to exclude them first from the process o kausapin natin, tumulong ka kasi kailangan namin kayo. And so we need everyone. We need everyone pulling together. That is why I could talk about unity, and we need everyone pulling together in the same direction. And that is what I mean about leadership, that we must have leadership that will show the way, that has a vision for our country, that has an idea of where we should be in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, and how to start the process of us getting there. We have to start somewhere. We cannot just talk about it. We cannot just argue about it. We have to get something done, get things in place, get the basics in place, and that way we can build upon that. But that will take a long time. And there are many in the situation that we have now. Meron tayong problema na short term. Simple lang. Gutom ang tao, walang pera sa bulsa, walang trabaho. Kailangan yan tugunan ka agad yan. But in the longer term, we have to look at the different sectors around our economy, around our country, and see where will the public investment need to go. What did COVID show us? And COVID, the one good thing that COVID did is it really made manifest all the weaknesses that we have in our economy, in our society, for that matter. But so instead of tearing our hair out and complaining about it, let's look at it well, examine the problem, try and solve it. And that's what I'm trying to do. And we cannot, again, I know I am a little repetitive on this, but nobody can do this alone. Not the government, not the private sector, not the individual citizen, not an LGU. We have to all work together to get this done.
Kong Mike?
Yes, Kong Lucy, go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to take
Kong
off
Lucy,
lang. Yeah.
Kong Lucy, before
Yeah.
you ask your question, gusto ko lang sabihin kasi ang daming nagko-comment. Una ho, sabi nila, ang galing ni BBM magsalita. Una ho, hindi alam ni BBM ang itatanong namin.
Correct. Improve to
Wala
lahat.
ho siyang alam. Pangalawa, wala ho siyang script. Natural ho yung kanya lahat na sinasabi. Just to be fair ho to BBM, hindi niya ho alam kung ano yung mga tatanungin namin. So yeah, Kong Lucy, go ahead.
I wanted lang to take off from what you said, no, na we are all candidates and at some point we are all vilified, but maybe no one more than BBM who has been vilified all his life, siguro for 40 years nga you said. But if there is one thing I learned in public service, no, out of the 12 years, bawal talaga maging judgmental. Diba, Kong Mike? Those people, the ones who are throw stones so easily, they only know what they read or what they hear, what was told to them. But I'll give you a concrete example. And I don't know if BBM remembers this, but back when Yolanda happened, and he wasn't part of the administration, but one of the very first to help Ormoc City was BBM and his family through Irene. You sent clean water. You sent a gadget from some foreign
Yes.
firm for clean water. And I remember going to the different barangays, demonstrating how that is used and them having access to clean water at a very crucial time. That's one. Secondly, during the earthquake in 2017, if you really look at it, if you look at the dynamics, you had just lost an election. You did not make it back in 2016, but you were the first to be on the ground after the earthquake happened. You were with Kong Martin and Kong Anton Lagdameo, who were both my colleagues at that time, and you didn't have to be there, but you were there and you helped the community. And I just wanted to say that more than what you say, more than what the plans are, what the grand plan is, it's really what you do on the battlefield as the battle rages on and the soldiers on the ground are suffering. So I think that speaks more about a leader than all the nice words or all the nice plans.
I remember that very well, and it's funny because I guess in my life we have always been thinking in terms of what's going on, how to help, and siguro sa pamilya ko hindi na nawala. Nilagay tayo dito sa mundong to para magserbisyo. And that is something that was ingrained in us by our parents, and that is something that
you grew up in that environment.
Well, even as children, we are already being taught that we are here to serve. We are here to serve. That is what this is what we do. And besides, if you think about it, everything that you give away comes back 10 times. In terms of political support, in terms of the affection that people have for you, and in terms of the good that you can actually do. So that's ingrained already siguro sa amin, and I think that that's why when those crises, those disasters happen, as long as we could help, we would immediately go. I have been in office and I have been out of office, and ang na-notice ko is that in my life anyway, in my experience, there's very little difference in the work I do. Nung nawala ako sa Kongreso, nawala ako sa Senado, ang nawala lang sa trabaho ko ay yung hearing at saka yung session. Pero ang lumalapit sa akin, the people that come to me for help, I think they always look at me as somebody who's still in office and is still in government. Now, I'm lucky. I've been in government for a long time. And of course, previous to that were all of the time that my father was president. So marami pa rin tayong kaibigan sa hindi lamang sa gobyerno, kung hindi pati sa private sector. At sila naman ay handang tumulong pagka humihingi tayo ng tulong. So that is something that I've always been able to do. And even excuse me, even when I was nakakulong pa ako dahil na-COVID ako eh. Nung nakakulong pa ako sa COVID, ginagawa ko na yun dahil sabi ko kailangan ito. So I was at home in my room, hindi pa ako makalabas ng kwarto ko, but I was already talking to people, collecting PPEs, collecting medical supplies, and collecting relief goods for those who are in need. And again, it's just something that this is what we do, and that is why siguro naman it can be said, at least I can claim, that I'm not in politics to aggrandize myself or my group or anybody else, but we really have a commitment to the country, to our people, and a commitment to help in any way that we can. Anyway, so nothing to